to fix that by tomorrow, or be prepared to be in my courtroom testifying under oath as to why you are breaking this lawful order.
She should get an Oscar for that type of presentation. I mean, I felt like I was really there for a second.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually just call myself a humble tech support here because this is actually as crazy as it sounds.
That was definitely a nerdy joke. Elon is for sure kind of a dork.
Federal District Court Judge Amir Ali in Washington today telling the Trump administration, you shut down foreign aid funds. And it appears at first glance that you were not legally allowed to do that. I ordered you to immediately restart those funds, and you have not done so. You now have until tomorrow to do it. And if you can't do it, or you have some excuse that makes you think you still ought not do it, I want the relevant officials in my courtroom and under oath telling me why they are not doing it. The motion to enforce is granted. Get those funds out the door by midnight tomorrow night. This nonsense is over.
She should get an Oscar for that type of presentation. I mean, I felt like I was really there for a second. It was like she was actually the judge, and she was just hammering down the fist on Trump's team. I mean, wow. That was Oscar quality showmanship. And I'm sure that's exactly what happened, like down to the detail. I'm sure that judge was just ripping him a new one, just like that. Kind of scary how out of touch these networks are. I mean, she's literally in her own little world, reenacting how she thinks or how she wants you to think it happened today in the courtroom or yesterday.
For the Trump administration in court today. Not only not doing what they are legally required to do, but unable to even spit out a complete sentence justifying why they're not complying with the court's order. Just a legal disaster and a humiliation. And that court recessed after the judge gave his order at 1:09 p.m. today. And exactly 10 minutes later, at 1:19 p.m., 10 minutes after that legal humiliation today, this New York Times headline posted, DOGE quietly deletes the 5 biggest spending cuts it celebrated last week. So while we're on the theme of the Trump administration being humiliated, I mean, literally within 10 minutes of a federal judge ordering President Trump and his top campaign donor, Elon Musk, to undo the biggest thing they have yet done to the United States government, their shutdown of all foreign aid. 10 minutes after that court order to fix that by tomorrow, or be prepared to be in my courtroom testifying under oath as to why you are breaking this lawful order. 10 minutes of that, within 10 minutes of that, the New York Times posts this story on how the 5 largest other things they claim to have done to the U.S. government aren't real. And so they've had to take them down off their website and stop claiming that they did them.
She is so excited right now. She really thinks that she has this gotcha moment, and it's unbelievable. I mean, they are making it sound like all of the progress that's been done so far has just been wiped out. And that's not the case. I mean, I don't know why they're so excited because a few got pulled back, or there's been a hurdle with a few of them. Let's go over the other things they've gotten done, just so they don't get that one over on you and make you think that there's all this progress that's just been wiped out. Okay, here's the DOGE website that they put up. Here's some of the departments they're working on. Now, here's what they've gotten done so far. If I'm understanding this correctly, this is the total value of what's being spent right now, and this is the savings. So there might have been a few, or apparently there were a few that got removed, or there's been some pushback from the courts, but that doesn't mean they haven't progressed in other areas. That's the picture they're trying to paint right now, as if all of their progress has just been reversed. I mean, look at all of this other progress. I mean, it keeps going on. I mean, there's still millions of dollars in savings that they've done so far. I don't know what they're getting so worked up about. So don't let them fool you or play into the charade. So I wanted to jump into another video, which is Trump and Elon were at a hearing today. And let's jump into that real quick.
Things in the border, but also based on balancing budgets and getting our country back into shape. And this is a big part of it. So Elon, if you could get up and explain where you are, how you're doing, and how much of a successful guy. He's really working so hard, and he's got businesses to run. And in many ways, I say, how do you do this? And, he's sacrificing a lot and getting a lot of praise, I'll tell you. But he's also getting hit. And we would expect that, and that's the way it works. So I'd like to have Elon Musk please say a few words. Thank you, Elon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually just call myself a humble tech support here because this is actually, as crazy as it sounds, that is almost a literal description of the work that the DOGE team is doing, is helping fix the government computer systems. Many of these systems are extremely old.
That was definitely a nerdy joke. Elon is for sure kind of a dork, but he's a really smart guy. So far as far as I can see, his interest and his motivation is pure.
Communicate. There are a lot of mistakes in the systems. The software doesn't work. So we are actually tech support. It's ironic, but it's true. The overall goal here with the DOGE team is to help address the enormous deficit. We simply cannot sustain as a country $2 trillion deficits. The interest rates, just the interest on the national debt, now exceeds the Defense Department spending. We spend a lot on the Defense Department, but we're spending like over $1 trillion on interest. If this continues, the country will become de facto bankrupt. It's not an optional thing; it is an essential thing. That's the reason I'm here, and taking a lot of flack and getting a lot of death threats. By the way, I mean, I'd like to stack them up, you know.
First of all, that's absolutely ridiculous that he's getting death threats. Whoever's doing that is a scumbag. And more than likely, they would never actually have the courage to do anything in person. So, but he's essentially saying we're spending more money than we have. And if it keeps going, we're going to go bankrupt, which means we might be able to get by for a little while longer, but definitely our kids and their kids are going to be left with a disaster if it doesn't get fixed now.
But if we don't do this, America will go bankrupt. That's why it has to be done. And I'm confident at this point, knock on wood, knock on my wooden head, there's got a lot of wood up there, that we can actually find $1 trillion in savings. That would be roughly 15% of the $7 trillion budget. And obviously that can only be done with the support of everyone in this room. And I'd like to thank everyone for your support. Thank you very much. This can only be done with your support. So it's really, DOGE is a support function for the president and for the agencies and departments to help achieve those savings and to effectively find 15% in reduction in fraud and waste. And we bring the receipts. So people say, like, well, is this real? Just go to doge.gov. We line item by line item, we specify each item. So, and I should say, we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect. But when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly. So, for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola prevention. I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately, and there was no interruption. But we do need to move quickly if we're to achieve a $1 trillion deficit reduction in financial year 2026. It requires saving $4 billion per day, every day, from now through the end of September. But we can do it, and we will do it. Thank you.
Would you have any questions of Elon while we're on the subject of DOGE? Because we'll finish off with that. And
before they start jumping into questions, does this sound like this malicious guy, like all of these other networks, really besides Fox, are painting this picture of? Because it doesn't sound that way. I mean, he's even admitting that they're making mistakes, and when they make mistakes, they're being corrected. So there's nothing malicious going on.
Questions, please. We'll finish off with that. And if you would have any questions, please ask. You could ask me or Elon. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Musk. I just wanted to ask you that President Trump put out a Truth Social today saying that everybody in the cabinet was happy with you. I just wondered if you had heard otherwise, and if so, what are you doing to address those any dissatisfaction?
Hey, Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second. Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, well, throw them out of here. I have a lot of respect for Elon and that he's doing this, and some disagree a little bit, but I will tell you for the most part, I think everyone's not only happy, they're thrilled. So go ahead, Elon.
Grateful.
Ever. Literally. So, and I do not give false praise. This is an incredible group of people. I don't think that such a talented team has actually ever been assembled. I think it's literally the best cabinet that the country has ever had, and I think the company should be incredibly appreciative of the people in this room.
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. Musk. Are there about half of the government employees so far appear to have responded to your request for what they've been doing over the past week? Is there a timeline in place for next moves for people being fired, and when can the American people expect to see results of that?
Yes. Well, to be clear, I think that email perhaps was misinterpreted as a performance review, but actually it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse? Do you have a pulse and two neurons? So if you have a pulse and two neurons, you can reply to an email. This is, I think not a high bar, is what I'm saying. Anyone can accomplish this. But what we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond. And some people who are not real people, like they're literally fictional individuals that are collecting paychecks. Well, somebody's collecting paychecks on a fictional individual. So we're just literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive? And can they write an email? Which I think is a reasonable expectation for the American public would have at least that expectation of someone in the public sector.
Mr. Musk, roughly 1 million employees.
It's not a high bar, guys. Come on.
Roughly 1 million employees have responded so far to this email. Does that mean that the remaining 1 million or so federal employees now risk being terminated? And is it your understanding and expectation when you post a directive on X that the cabinet secretaries will follow that order? Because several agencies have instructed employees that this is voluntary or not to respond.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so. I guess it was like last week, the president encouraged me via Truth Social and also via phone call to be more aggressive. And I was like, okay, yes, sir, Mr. President, we will indeed do that. The president is a commander asks. And I said, can we send out an email to everyone just saying, what did you get done last week? And the president said yes, so it did that. We got a partial response. We're going to send another email. But our goal is not to be capricious or unfair. We want to give people every opportunity to send an email. And the email could simply be, what I'm working on is too sensitive or classified to describe. Like literally just, that would be sufficient. I think this is just common sense.
And what is your target number for how many workers, employees you're looking to cut total?
Well, that girl's coming in a little hot and bothered on that one, but Elon's definitely not used to this type of environment. Clearly, he seemed a little bit nervous, but still, at the end of the day, I'm so tired of this horrible picture that's being painted of him. Like, he's not a horrible person. He's doing this for free.
And what is your target number for how many workers, employees you're looking to cut total?
We wish to keep everyone who is doing a job that is essential and doing that job well. But if the job is not essential or they're not doing the job well, they obviously should not be on the public payroll.
I'd like to add, wait a minute. I'd like to add that those million people that haven't responded, though, Elon, they are on the bubble. I wouldn't say that we're thrilled about it. They haven't responded. Now, maybe they don't exist. Maybe we're paying people. Now, maybe they don't exist. Maybe we're paying people that don't exist. Don't forget, we just got here. This group just got here. But those people are on the bubble, as they say. Maybe they're going to be gone. Maybe they're not around. Maybe they have other jobs. Maybe they moved and they're not where they're supposed to be. A lot of things could have happened. I wouldn't say that Biden ran a very tight administration. They spent money like nobody's ever spent money before.
So there you have it. In summary, Elon's trying to get ahead of this national debt because if it continues, at some point we're going to go bankrupt in the near future, and he's trying to prevent that, or at least help prevent that as much as possible. The previous administration spent money like crazy. The emails that are being required are essentially a pulse check. So they're just wanting to make sure that people are alive. They're not committing fraud, and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. If they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, their department or their position has purpose and provides some type of benefit, then they have nothing to worry about. And if they don't, or if their position doesn't provide any type of benefit, then we don't need to waste money on it. It's really that simple. But these networks are complicating everything, focusing on the bad and trying to paint this guy as this horrible person. And he's not.